Jamaica. Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Copa America 2024 is coming to you this summer, right here on CVM TV. That's right, you get big-side access from the comfort of your home so you can catch all the live action. Tune in and watch as Brazil, Argentina, Jamaica, USA, and more battle for Copa Supremacy. Tournament kicks off on June 20 and runs through to July 14. Cheer on the boys and see the goals and drama of Copa America happen live on CVM TV.
Sponsored by AFC, J-Ray and Nephew, Quartz, Sunshine Snacks.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Celine, where you going? We can't say we're a friend now. Celine. We have to take on the road.
Yeah, man, we have to take on the same way. All right, Lord, thank you so much for this day.
Me, I do the work. Yeah. And the people, them accept it. Clarendon, Mandeville. But now we get to go into the inner city of Kingston.
I can't wait to learn more as we go across Jamaica into different churches to understand what they do.
It's the evolution. The Miss Universe Jamaica Beauty Fashion and Wellness Pageant 2024 is back again. Bigger, better, and even more exciting. Come out to the Grand Coronation Finals on Saturday, July 6, 2024 at the AC Hotel Kingston and see in live and living color special guest Miss Universe 2023 Shanice Palacios, Miss Universe Jamaica Dr. Jordan Levy, and a host of other luminaries as this year's amazing array of beautiful contestants battle to represent Jamaica in Mexico this year. Showtime is 8:30 p.m. Gates open at 6:30 p.m. Tickets available online at www.myplug.com. Visit us on Instagram at official Miss Universe Jamaica for more information. This is the most exciting show on earth. Be there. Miss Universe Jamaica, beautifully confident and enhancing lives.
CVM TV serves up another must-see encounter in the Copa America. On Friday, 9-time champions Brazil, carrying the weight of expectations, will look to bounce back from a poor start to the tournament. Standing in their way will be Paraguay, who are yet to make an impression. Two teams eager to show their worth in a fight to the end. Paraguay, Brazil, live Friday at 8 p.m. on CVM TV. Brought to you by
AFC, J-Ray and Nephew, Quartz, Sunshine Snacks.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Central Expressions, your best source for business, tourism, and entertainment. Tune in to Central Expressions on CVM TV, Sundays at 3 p.m. Repeat Fridays at 9 a.m. Central Expressions is brought to you by the Gulf View Hotel in the heart of Jamaica, from the hearts of Jamaicans. The Orbin Group, Real Essence Media, National PC Bank, Central Expressions, your voice, your culture.
Well, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports announced that for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, plans are on the way to renovate a space to host a third state-run shelter for victims of domestic violence. Minister Grange expressed the desire to establish more, but admittedly is restricted by resources. It's a part of a wider push to end gender-based violence in Jamaica. And we have joining us this evening for lead story, Joni James from the Bureau of Gender Affairs and head of the JCF Domestic Violence Intervention Centers, Deputy Superintendent of Police, Jacqueline Dillon. Welcome back. Well, we have in studio joining us Joni James from the Bureau of Gender Affairs and the head of the JCF Domestic Violence Intervention Centers. This DSP will be joining us on Zoom. She is DSP Jacqueline Dillon. So we share with you a quick package that was prepared ahead of time.
1 in 3 women globally experience gender-based violence. 1 in every 4 Jamaican women has experienced intimate partner violence or sexual violence. Gender-based violence is violence directed against a person because of that person's gender or violence that affects persons of a particular gender disproportionately. This can include physical violence, sexual violence, emotional and psychological abuse. Many women find it difficult to exit situations where they are being abused. Jamaica has the second highest feminicide rate in the world, which causes concern for the safety of Jamaican women and girls. Initiatives such as the Spotlight Initiative, funded by the United Nations and the EU, have been working to change what they describe as harmful gender attitudes that lead to this violence. The government has established the JCF's Domestic Violence Intervention Centers, which are located at police stations with the intention to provide support to victims of domestic violence. Advocates have long asked for the state to provide alternatives for women who are experiencing GBV and need an out.
Because we are deliberate about development, we put in the systems to help women leave violent men and to restart their lives. To date, we have established and are operating 2 shelters for victims of domestic violence. They are safe, they are well secured and equipped to cater to women and their children.
In Minister Grange's sectoral presentation, she announced a 3rd domestic violence shelter for women. So how effective have these initiatives been, and how do they work? We find out on Lead Story.
Well, thanks again. We just heard there from Ramon Gordon from a package previously prepared. Joining us now to dissect this matter, as we've mentioned, is Ms. Joni James. Welcome, Ms. James.
Thank you.
You would have heard that discussion earlier in that story that we had regarding the number of centers, the intention to have more. Right. But why isn't there at least one of these centers already in every police station or in every parish?
Well, to be honest, you know that the JCF has 10 domestic violence eye care center attached to the station across the island, as well as the ministry from the Bureau of Gender Affairs. We have the national shelters. 2 are in operation, as you heard our minister said, and 1 is supposed to come on in stream by the end of this financial year. So we actually have 2 active safe spaces for women who can reach out and get help. And by the means they would reach out to our helpline. So we have a GBV helpline for females, as well as we have a GBV helpline for male. So under the GBV unit, the female helpline numbers, the persons can reach out. It is 553-0372. For the males, they can reach out at 553-0387. So they can reach out. So victims can reach out, call the Bureau, and they can be admitted to the shelter based on an assessment which the social worker will conduct.
What's the take-up been like since you've started announcing these numbers and you've started building out more of these shelters and facilities to assist persons who've been impacted by gender-based violence?
So our national shelter was open on October 20, 2020. And so far to this date, we have about 10,800 calls that we have received, and we have assisted 95 victims so far.
Is that immense? But I want to hold your thoughts right there because we have on Zoom now DSP Jacqueline Dillon. Welcome, DSP Dillon.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed. We started the conversation before you joined and we were talking about the impact it would make if we had a GBV center in every police station, in every parish. And so we understand that the police have been doing their part. What, pray tell, have the police really been doing?
So we are law enforcement, and therefore when it comes on to domestic violence or gender-based violence, we have a duty for prevention. And our role as prevention officers is to ensure that we educate. Not only do we educate, but we assist persons who come to us for help to find help through whatever form of intervention, including directing them to a shelter nearest them.
Well, how successful have those initiatives been? You mentioned directing them to shelters. So how successful have the domestic violence intervention centers been, as well as those victim shelters?
Well, since the inception of the domestic violence intervention centers in 2021, we have had increased numbers every single year. And what we find is that our reach is not just Jamaica. Our reach is all over the globe. We've had persons even from the US, Canada, England asking for help. And we have been able to help them because we work closely with the Bureau of Gender Affairs. And whatever needs we have as it relates to education and placing persons in shelter and getting help, the Bureau of Gender Affairs has always been with us. And so for the police, it's very effective because we have been able to reach a number of persons who would not have come to the police themselves at a station. And so having the centers are useful because people now go directly to the center or they call via telephone and we reach out.
If we could just backpedal a bit, you mentioned persons have been calling from other countries. Are those victims seeking support?
Yes.
How does that work?
We have had a number of nationals from other countries who meet people on social media. And they come to Jamaica, get into a relationship and find out when they come here it's not what they thought it was. We have had persons from within the region who is the same situation. And we have been able to repatriate persons back to their country after we have taken them out of some situations that they may be in, and we send them back home. There are a few of them who say, oh, I'm not ready to go home, and therefore we can't do nothing at all. We can't do anything if a victim is not ready to let go. But what we do is follow up with them and advise them as to what we do and where it is that they can go for help. But we have been able over the last 2 years to repatriate a number of persons back home, and those who do not go back home, we have been able to assist them locally.
Interesting. I saw Miss James, I saw you just nodding off there. But how do these programs support young and underage girls, especially who don't receive support from their families?
When you think about domestic violence, it covers a wide range. So it doesn't matter who the individual is, it is our responsibility as the ministry to reach out and give the support. A lot of our victims, when through the help of the JCF, a lot of the times when we reach a shelter, we realize that they're pregnant, so babies have been born. Wow. So sometimes they don't know, because the reality is persons who are victims of gender-based violence, they have unprotected sex with their partner. Sometimes, they are forced to have sex with the partner, and hence sometimes they become pregnant and they're unaware of the situation. And through the National Shelter, we provide the support for them and their children as well, because we need to include the mother now and now the baby when it comes on to that as well. Once they enter into the shelter, we provide skill services. Let's say they want to, because the shelter is there to help them to enhance themselves. So once they leave the National Shelter, they are able to work on their own. If is it that they want to learn a skill training from art, to start a business, or is it that they want to go back into the work of world, we equip them with that, as well as we provide the psychosocial support. So we have a counselor in the shelter that is there to provide the support for them.
Hold some of those thoughts because we're up on a quick break here on Lead Story, but we rejoin the conversation just after this.
TV serves up another must-see encounter in the Copa America. On Friday, 9-time champions Brazil, carrying the weight of expectations, will look to bounce back from a poor start to the tournament. Standing in their way will be Paraguay, who are yet to make an impression. Two teams eager to show their worth in a fight to the end. Paraguay, Brazil, live Friday at 8 p.m. on CVM TV. Brought to you by
KFC, J. Ray and Nephew, Quartz, Sunshine Snacks.
The time by Grace. Taste that moves you is
6:45.
It's the evolution. The Miss Universe Jamaica Beauty Fashion and Wellness Pageant 2024 is back again. Bigger, better, and even more exciting. Come out to the Grand Coronation Finals on Saturday, July 6, 2024 at the AC Hotel Kingston and see in live and living color special guest Miss Universe 2023 Shanice Palacios, Miss Universe Jamaica Dr. Jordan Levy, and a host of other luminaries as this year's amazing array of beautiful contestants battle to represent Jamaica in Mexico this year. Showtime is 8:30 p.m. Gates open at 6:30 p.m. Tickets available online at www.myplug.com. Visit us on Instagram at Official Miss Universe Jamaica for more information. This is the most exciting show on earth. Be there. Miss Universe Jamaica, beautifully confident and enhancing lives.
Welcome back to CVM's Lead Story. We're talking gender-based violence and supporting those victims of gender-based violence. We have joining us in studio Joni James. She's a representative from the Bureau of Gender Affairs. We also have joining us on Zoom DSP Jacqueline Dillon. She's the head of the JCF's Domestic Violence Intervention Centers. Welcome back, ladies. Well, Ms. James, before we went to the break, we were speaking about the various initiatives and training activities that you engage your victims who come to these centers in. Could you just explore how sustainable these activities are and for how long you keep persons in the programs?
So let me give you a rundown. So a victim calls the Bureau or they walk to the Bureau because we do accept walk-ins as well. They come to the Bureau, the social worker from the GBV helpline would assist that victim by doing the assessment to see if that victim is, fit for the national shelter. After doing the assessment, then, we liaison with the JCF because they are our partners when it comes on to that. And through the JCF and the shelter unit, that's how the transition is done in regards to the victim arriving at the shelter. At the shelter, the victim is also go through another assessment, some paperwork for them to understand, the permits. Their phones are taken away because of safety reasons. So
it's almost like witness protection.
Right, technically. And you have to safeguard other victims there as well because the perpetrator can track the victim as well. I must say as well, they need to take out a protection order. It's very important because the perpetrator can go and say, guess what? The Bureau has kidnapped my wife and children. So to safeguard the ministry, each individual is taking out a protection order. And the protection order as well, for us to know that they're at that stage of being empowered to walking away from the situation. So at the National Shelter, we provide counseling for them because we have an in-house counselor that lives on the shelter as well. And, we provide meals for them. They have different therapy sessions that they may do as well as they learn a new skill. And, persons may get them documents because a lot of the times the victims don't have a simple ID, TRN, a bank card, so we allow them to get those assistance.
I gather sometimes the perpetrators use this sort of inaccessibility to these services to keep them bounded or feeling enslaved or trapped.
Right. So as well. So it depends on the time frame. There's not time frame that is placed on a victim, but it is for a temporary safe housing for the victim. So if a victim comes in and they need assistance
for 2 years.
But let's say that they are not in that space of empowered to leave the shelter. We can't just throw them back out into society. We wait until they're empowered before they are reintegrate into society. So it's based on a case by case, because some cases may be longer than 6 weeks. Some persons, so it depends on the victim when it comes on to that aspect.
Well, DSP Dylan, I want to ask you, the interaction with the victims, you would see normally males coming in as well, or more females nonetheless? And how do you treat with those?
We still have majority of victims being female, but we have a number of men. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that since January to now, we have had 1,268 men who have asked for help at the DVI Care Center. The thing is that we don't have a shelter per se for men, and so we have to assist them otherwise if it is that they need to move. Because in truth and in fact, we have some women who they are really, really bad when they become perpetrators. And so the same initiative to protect women, we have to do the same thing to protect men. In many cases, we have to assist them in getting protection orders through the courts, because it's important that the same kind of service that we give to the women, we also give to the men. Because again, as law enforcement officers, we can't take sides. We can't be biased.
Yes. But DSP, you mentioned a figure earlier pertaining to the men, and you mentioned, I think, 1,400 and something. But is that, if you put it in context, an increase over last year, for example, or since the centers have been up and running and the tip lines? Is it an increase or a decrease?
Every year we have had an increase in men asking for help. The numbers, as I said, I gave you for 1,268 is income. All right, all of 2021 when we started, we had 1,700 and something. In 2022, we jumped to 2,000 something. In 2023, it was about 23 more than 2022. We're at halfway into 2024, and we have already reached half the numbers. So it tells you that persons want the help out there, they trust us to help them, and we are ensuring that whatever they ask for within the context of law enforcement and in collaboration with our other partners, we try to do that.
Let's put into perspective some of the major cases or incidents that you typically see men calling in or reporting to stations for. Do you recall any of the highlights of the cases that typically cause men to call in?
All right, so I have a case that we just completed where a man, he and his child's mother, the child's mother has custody of the child, he has visiting, and every time he goes to visit the child, the family members, they either assault him, they beat him up, and it got to the stage where when he reached out, I had to ask the police, the local police, to intervene, and then at the same time take him through the process of getting a protection order, getting the matter heard in the court, because at this time now the family has now barred him from seeing the child. And so as a father, he has a right to see his child. So we had to go to the court. He went to the court, and the court made a decision that is in his favor. And that is how we were able to settle that particular matter. He had to go through counseling because it was very traumatizing for him. We have had other men who reach out to say, listen, I need help because I know that if I respond, I will become the perpetrator and the police is not going to listen to what I have to say. So I'm reaching out for intervention very early before it gets to the stage where I must respond.
Well, I'm not sure which of you would most dissect this question, but first to you, DSP, and then to you, Miss James. What are we doing to train the wider police force? Because one of the main complaints we receive, especially from women who report domestic violence, is that they say sometimes they don't feel supported or protected by the police. So really quick answers.
Let me answer that. The JCF has been training its members since 2021. 2022 and 2023, we focus solely on training our members. We have liaison officers in all parishes, all divisions, at every station, right across the length and breadth of Jamaica. We have put systems in place where if persons go to a station and feel that they are not properly dealt with, there is a domestic violence intervention unit. They can also reach out to the commander for that particular police station, because I've gotten calls from persons who say, I went to this station, but I don't think I was dealt with according to how I should have been. And we took over the case and we fixed the matter. Bearing in mind that we're an organization of people and that people will respond many times or sometimes external of what you expect of them. And that's why we have to have check and balances. And the JCF has had that. The complaints about police non-responsiveness, I don't believe is very high compared to where we are coming from. We still have some work to do, but I think we are far better than where we are coming from.
Understood. And Ms. James, in terms of behavior change, the stigma associated with gender-based violence, where is the ministry on this when it comes to changing society's views?
So we do a lot of intervention, especially in the community liaison unit. So we do intervention as first responders, so we train with the JCF so officers can understand the victim mindset, and if the victim comes 7-4 times, what they should do. We do a lot of training when it comes on to building their capacities, so we do it in the communities, PTA, we also do for the church, because, when you think about gender-based violence, is a mindset, it's a learned behavior. We learn it in our homes, we learn it in our communities, we learn it from our friends, from our peers. So it's trying to change the mindset. So we go into the schools right across Jamaica, start from early so persons can know what is gender-based violence, how we can end this behavior, because we don't want to create an unhealthy family. We love to think about healthy families, because we're all about at the Bureau empowering our woman and empowering our man. Because we need a balance act. We need the fathers in the home to be balanced. We need the mothers in the home to be balanced, so we can raise healthy children in Jamaica. So we start from the grassroots level. So we do a lot of interventions, rural, urban, when you think about it. And we start from the primary schools as well as the basic schools, so persons can know. Yes, so you do it in different videos so they can understand, in that regard, simple thing. And when you think about the pandemic, the system has changed, because even the primary schools, there have been cases of grade 4 boys that are physically abusing girls in the primary school, because they think that they're in quote unquote